Hi, everybody. I'm Dan McDermott. Welcome to Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at formerly the world's. I don't know what the hell. We're in some sort of crazy state of flux. But anyway, we're glad you're here with us. So, yeah. Anyway, our panel is. I see Michael Ellis there. Welcome, Michael. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Dan.
You're
Good
in
to be here.
Nashville, Tennessee.
I am.
If you hit the bars, you'll be surprised how hard it is to find country music in Nashville. Sounds weird, but it's true.
I believe tonight that the vast majority of my 1,600 fraternity brothers are in bars where country music is being played tonight.
Excellent.
But I'm not with them. I'm here with you instead.
All right, we'll take you any way we can get you. And then we have Eli. Eli, welcome.
Good to be here.
And you are, I forget where you are.
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Excellent. That's a crazy state. One of my favorite Twitter accounts is Florida Man.
You follow my Only in Florida collection.
Absolutely. And joining us from New York is Alan Furstenberg. Welcome, Dr. Furstenberg.
Hey, Dan.
All right. He's ready. He's primed and ready. He's already pissed off. He doesn't know why. All right. Our first.
No. A, I'm not pissed off. B, I know exactly why.
All right. All right. So I understand Alphabet has happened. So this is a new parent company that I guess Wall Street likes. And why don't you tell us what's going on, what Alphabet is?
I assume that was directed at me.
Sure.
Sure. So earlier this week, Larry and Sergey posted a founder's note, which basically said, "Hi guys, thanks for everything. Thanks for all the money. We're going to take it and start a new parent company." And the new parent company is known as Alphabet. It's going to have the domain name abc.xyz.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Basically what they're doing is they're taking everything that we currently know of as Google, the search engine, the maps, Gmail, driverless cars, everything, and splitting them up into different companies. And most of what people think of when they say, when they talk about Google, the search engine part, Gmail, Google+, YouTube, Android, all of that is going to be in a brand new company with the shocking name of Google, headed by Sundar, who will be the new CEO of this company, and it will be under a CEO. Other things that that we may know of as Google, but other people may not, are being split into their own companies, all of which will be under Alphabet. So things like Google X. Google X will now be a separate company with its own CEO that will be under the Alphabet umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Nest, which was acquired by Google, will now be its own separate company, separate from Google. Other things like Google Ventures, which people may or may not have heard about, that will be operated as a completely separate company. Mm-hmm. And the biggest reason for all of this is so Larry and Sergey can look better in Wall Street's eyes.
This is just putting into paper what the de facto hierarchical structure had been, right? Wasn't Sundar kind of running the show, and these guys were focusing on the big picture and the crazy
Pretty
things?
much, yeah. Basically, what this is for is so that when Wall Street critics, who were saying, "Hey, why are you focusing on all of these totally random companies instead of focusing on what makes us money?" they can say, "Well, we have a company that's focused on making money, and that's Google. And we've got all of these other companies that, we're operating separately." I think there's still a lot of questions about that. I'm not entirely sure why Wall Street won't then say, "Hey, why do you have all of these companies that aren't making money? Why don't you cut them, get rid of them?" But regardless, I think Larry and Sergey are making a big bet, and it's clearly aimed at Wall Street. The letter that they put out announcing Alphabet really screamed from top to bottom, hey, Wall Street, shut up.
Now, I understand that the stock ticker will still be the two, what, Google and GOG or whatever it is.
GOOG and GOOGL.
And they still, because they're all part of the same company, they still don't have to break out a P&L for each entity, right? So one could be hemorrhaging cash, and they don't have to say that.
They said they will be reporting the financials of each company separately.
Wow.
Oh,
Will Google
and that's
Fiber have to change its name?
What was that?
Will Google Fiber have to change its name?
Google Fiber will be spun out into one of the separate companies, and presumably they will acquire some new name. Who knows what that will be?
Frankly, I think any name would be not as effective as Google Fiber. So I guess they could still call it that, right? That's a hell of a brand name.
I mean, I don't think there's anything saying they can't use the Google trademark, because that Google trademark is owned by Alphabet.
right.
And there are certainly some questions about exactly, and this is one of the things that has not been spelled out, and I wouldn't expect to be spelled out at this point, about how these companies, that although they're independent, what kind of agreements they will have with each other. So, for example, at I/O, a lot was made out of Brillo and Weave and all of these Internet of Things that presumably will fall under Nest. Well, but all of those things were also based on a variant of Android. So how much connection will there be between the Android group and the Nest group, even now that they're separate companies? What agreements will be in place?
Is Alphabet going to be an Irish company, and all the companies will figure out what their profit is, and that will become the licensing fee for the intellectual property, which will be sent to Ireland? Is this a scam?
No, they said that Android will be a Delaware corp.
Okay. I thought states were moving away from Delaware.
Alphabet will be a Delaware corp.
Okay. Not a Liberian company?
So then you wouldn't say this was designed to be a tax, driven by tax reasons then?
No.
Okay.
Eli's shaking his head no. Eli, you want to elaborate on any of this? Did I?
No, you nailed it. I mean, this is essentially, other than the legalities that hadn't been set up before, this is just business as usual as to what they'd already been doing for, I believe, Sundar said this pretty much worked this way for the last 2 years anyways. But, people on Wall Street get all confused, like, okay, you've got these numbers for Google. Well, how much of that is Google X dragging on that? Is Fiber dragging on that? What's making a profit? What's losing money? And the funny thing is, they're still going to be capitalized to a large degree. At least some of these things will, for at least the foreseeable future, by profit from Google. So in effect, nothing much changes.
Nothing changes.
Wall Street likes clear definitions, clear numbers. So that, and they hired on, what's her name, who is the big Wall Street expert, probably was, pushing to accelerate this process.
I don't understand. Okay, so it's a paper transaction. Cy has a great name for Google Fiber. Alphabets, get it?
I like it.
They said they didn't want to build a new brand, so they're not going to try to push the Alphabet brand. It's literally just a name for legal purposes.
They certainly can't with their driverless cars, because BMW will have something to say about that. Which brings up the whole issue of, I guess multiple companies have trademarked Alphabet, which is, I think, a stretch. I mean, talk about a common word. But Apple's a common word, and that's trademarked by at least 2 companies, right? For different purposes.
That's the point. Is as long as you can't make a really good argument that they're damaging your trademark, and that's harder to make when it's a generic thing like Alphabet or Apple. If somebody were to call themselves Google, then that would be very hard for them to push, as not particularly if they were in the search game. But you really have to prove that somebody damaged your trademark. So I don't see that being an issue for them.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think they're going to be, they're not going to be doing much with the name. The name was chosen, again, as a pun for it's an interesting pun. It's a Wall Street pun, which really kind of speaks to where they're aiming at. But most people aren't going to know or care, in the same way that most people don't really know or care who Procter & Gamble are, or any one of hundreds of other holding companies that most people have never heard of. or if they've heard of it, they don't really know what it is.
Well, I heard Procter and Gamble runs an evil satanic cult that's trying to destroy the world.
My favorite holding company name is Ahold, and I think it's like, I don't know, Dutch or something. And I met the CEO. He came. They own the Martins and Giant Foods in the eastern U.S. And I met the CEO, and I said, "So you're the head Ahold?" And he kind of looked at me. He didn't think it was funny. Welcome, Sheila Dubois in Utah.
Hello.
Good to have you with us. You're wearing a bright yellow shirt.
Right.
Safety first.
Exactly.
All right.
Even in Hangouts.
So I'm trying to figure out, Alan, why would Wall Street care if no money's changing hands, everyone's still running everything like they used to? Why is this beneficial to the way it was a week ago? I don't understand.
Let's point out, by the way, just how beneficial it is, or at least in Wall Street's eyes, with the amount of money, with the change in market capitalization that Google had before they announced this and after. With that amount of money, they could have bought Twitter.
I understand the stock went up, but why?
Because Wall Street likes certainty instead of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
But what's
Because
different? How is this more certain? I don't get it.
Well, because now, instead of Google reporting some amount of, we earned X amount this, last quarter, Wall Street goes, as Eli pointed out, Wall Street goes, well, wait a minute, was that from search? Was that from sales of this? Was that from licensing Android? Was that from, future revenues projected on your car? Where did you make this money? Now they're told, okay, Google Ventures, invested $2 trillion in something, and from that reaped a profit of $4 trillion.
But couldn't they have broken that out previously?
Not really. They weren't obligated to do so.
They could have, though.
Well, they could have, but they weren't obligated to do so. And Wall Street likes it when companies are obligated to do so. Because
they would have conspiracy theorized till the end of time that Google was hiding something if they weren't legally obligated.
Why are they legally obligated to break these things out now?
they're legally obligated to break them out now because these are separate companies.
But they're all under one corporation umbrella. Only one publicly.
Holding corporation.
There's one publicly traded company.
Separate legal companies with separate CEOs.
But they're not publicly traded. Aren't they private corporations under a public umbrella?
Companies of a certain size are required to publicly disclose their information.
Not if they're privately held.
Yes, if they're privately held.
Hershey is privately held and won't tell you squat, and they're a lot bigger than Google Fiber.
The reason why
Mars.
The reason why Facebook, I believe, went public was because if they didn't, they were going to be required to publicly disclose information anyway.
I thought it was to reward their employees who had gotten stock, who wouldn't have stuck around if they couldn't have cashed out at some point, or been on that road at least. I mean, Hershey's and Mars corporations are privately held, and nobody knows what they're worth.
Aren't those actually closely held corporations?
Yes.
Meaning that there are a very small number of hands.
Google Fiber is a closely held.
Hobby Lobby.
They're not as closely held as Google Fiber, which has one shareholder, Alphabet.
Yeah, but Alphabet is publicly traded.
That's not what closely held.
Dan, Hershey's is a publicly traded company.
Maybe it's Mars.
HSY, in case you wanted to look it up.
Maybe it's Mars. The Mars family owns Mars. The Mars bar, M&Ms. All the shit that makes your kids go crazy.
I'm not aware of the requirement. Yeah, I'm not aware of the requirement for disclosures by privately owned businesses. If they're publicly traded, there are disclosure requirements, but if the shares are owned privately by an individual or a group of a closely held group of shareholders, they aren't required to disclose information to the public.
All right, the largest privately held company, I'm Googling.
At any rate, regardless of that, the point is now that there can't be any conspiracy theories. If they report numbers for Google Fiber or Google driverless cars, nobody on Wall Street can conspiracy theorize that they've been shuffling money around inside Google to inflate those numbers, because any money that's going to come out of Google now and go into those other corporations, that they're going to have to report.
Cargill is now the largest privately held company. The Koch brothers companies are privately held. Interesting.
Regardless, Google chose to do it this way to make sure that Wall Street couldn't question where the money comes from.
Right, because then because they're publicly traded, those individual segments will be required to publicly disclose their numbers.
I still don't understand. They could have
Well,
voluntarily.
more to the point, in theory, as long as these were just inside of Google, and this is how crazy people on Wall Street can be, but they would have conspiracy theorized till the end of time, no matter what numbers Google said, oh, Google X did this, Google Fiber did that. Well, yeah, but they're part of Google. You could be shuffling money around any way you want. Now, in order for Google to function as a capital source for those other corporations, they will have to report that. So there'll be no way for them to hide, fudge the numbers, and say, oh, Google X made $100 million profit, and in reality they just, reshuffled $200 million from Google, from one part of Google into another part of Google. They would have to report any use of Google to capitalize those other divisions. So it's convoluted, but trading on Wall Street is convoluted.
Yeah, I don't think we're kidding anybody though. I mean, it's always been Google would shuffle their money to every other entity under the umbrella because nothing.
It's the only way to start new companies.
You just don't understand the irrationality of investors, then, I guess.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Okay, so next is I guess Niantic Labs is becoming an independent company. Is that going to be under the umbrella or a totally third-party thing?
And that's the part that's actually most confusing, is that it sounds like they're actually leaving Alphabet/Google.
Now, for folks who don't know, tell us what that is. It's a game development company, right?
Niantic Labs, I guess we can now think of them as a game development company. Their first product was something called Field Trip, which would let you know when you were near points of interest, where points of interest was pretty broadly defined.
Really irritating app.
And would send you a notification on your phone about that. They're most well known, though, for the game Ingress, which is a real world video game, basically, where people go around and do stuff.
It was so irritating. Field Trip. Oh my God, Alan. I live like everyone else in Virginia near there's 15 historical markers between the interstate and my house. And every single day, Stonewall Jackson took a big dump right at that intersection. Every single day, every single marker. At first, it was crazy. It wasn't intuitive, but anyway.
I didn't like Field Trip when it first came out. I like it now, although now I use it on Glass, which is a great application for it. But Ingress was their big thing, and they sent out a notice a couple of days ago to all Ingress players that if you don't do anything, all of your information that you had stored with Google, including some information that was Google's information, will be copied to Niantic.
They bought the company, correct?
I believe that was just founded out internally to Google.
Okay. You think they're setting it up for a sale?
Startup.
Are they setting it up to sell it?
I don't think they're selling it. I think they're just spinning it out.
Because the new way on paper, the way the whole thing is organized, makes it a lot easier to value and sell one of their entities, correct? I would think. If they're totally independent and the accounting staff they can't just throw stuff at this thing. It's got to be accounted for now.
Yeah, but this sounds like it's actually being done outside of the Alphabet reorganization. The spinoff is happening before the fourth quarter, which is when they announce they're going to be, the fourth quarter will be when they start announcing things split out by Alphabet.
Can you think of any reason they would do that other than they're considering a sale?
Well, it's not even considering sale. They've said it's going to be separate. They're leaving Google as of September 11th, I think.
So it'll be a privately held or publicly traded? Have they said anything like that?
No, nobody said anything.
I can't imagine it would be big enough to have an IPO.
No, it probably won't have an IPO, but as a small game company,
It's like 12
it's
guys
got
in a
some
room, right?
what?
It's like 12 guys in a room, right?
It's probably a little more than that, but about that.
Hmm. Interesting. But can you think of any reason?
I'm thinking that ultimately, despite Ingress's odd success, because it certainly does have a very popular, I think cultic is the correct term, following, and a global one at that. I think that ultimately, for all the talk when they founded Niantic Labs about this being exploring new ways of developing apps and such, that what essentially became a game company just didn't make sense under the Google or Alphabet brands, so they're just spinning it off.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff they have that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but that one really doesn't make sense. I mean, it sort of does from the information perspective, finding out where all these monuments are and such, but
It makes as
they
much
probably
sense
have
as
more efficient
Waze.
ways of doing that.
It makes more sense than Waze, or well, Waze is maps. Driverless cars, I would say, are more different than a game company. I would say, I don't know. Google Docs is as
Well, no,
foreign as
because
this.
driverless cars actually make perfect sense because everybody expects that, before long, the car will be like the smartphone, the PC. It's going to be a major hub for accessing data. And that's going to go just by operating the vehicle even. You're going to be accessing and generating tremendous amounts of data. And the last thing that Google would want to do if they were smart was get locked out of that. Whereas, if they don't become the world's biggest game maker, I don't think that's going to hurt them.
Eli, I think you're actually, it's far more simple than that. I think what it is Larry and Sergey don't play Ingress, so they're spinning it out because they don't get it.
They don't use Google Plus either, but they love Google Plus, apparently.
I
Who
think
says they love Google?
I think they're not getting. I think they're not spinning Google Plus out because nobody wants it.
To be fair,
right,
Larry
so-
Page was never noted for being, and certainly not Sergey either, by his own admission, he should never try to communicate with the public. Larry was never known for being good at communicating with the public. Heck, he didn't even want a secretary for years. He's just really bad at communicating with people.
Okay, so on this thread, someone said, Larry, Sergey, do you guys love Google Plus? Do you still love Google Plus? And Larry said, yes, we still love Google Plus, exclamation point. What's noteworthy about this is that he said it also that, of course, this is one of the few times he's actually used Google Plus. Are we making, I mean, is this really a big deal? Everyone's like, oh my God, he loves Google Plus. The emperor spoke.
What does it matter? He's not even in the reporting chain anymore of Google Plus. So so what?
Yeah, but you told me to put this, so you have some thoughts.
Yeah, but that's my thought. Actually, what I was
You put it in there just
commenting
to
on-
troll me and say it shouldn't be in the list?
No, I think it should be. Is that everybody who, a large portion of the comments on it were along the lines of, Google CEO loves Google Plus. And I'm like, guys, did you just miss the news that he's no longer Google's CEO? He's, in fact, nowhere in the reporting chain in Google anymore. He just owns Google because, it's pocket change for him.
Okay, Sai says, this is funny. You got to see it, I guess. Google Plus becomes Google Plus exclamation point. It's the new improved.
What are your thoughts on Larry's comment, Eli? Yeah, Eli.
Well, I think that he means it, and I think that there's a subtext in what they've been saying about how they're going to use Google Plus going forward that gets missed in all the talk about it being more focused. Is they keep talking about it as a connection platform. Well, despite the greater focus, you can already name one other example that I think is highly unlikely to be deintegrated anytime soon of Google Plus being used that way, and that is Google Play Games, which by all indications is in fact the fastest growing mobile gaming platform out there. So I think that's where Google Plus will continue to make sense for them. It may not all actually be about the stream, despite the talk about focus, because games are also a form of interest. and they're using that to connect people as well. So I think that that's being missed, is that the new Google accounts aren't going to be social at all. They're going to be unsearchable. They're not going to be sharing data between accounts. So they're still going to need a type of account for certain purposes that allows people to make connections and share data, more seamlessly than with Google Drive, entering somebody's email or whatever.
Eli, is Niantic Labs, is that the only Google owned entity that makes games?
I believe so. Yes.
Do you think?
I mean, other than silly little the maps people, or the search people make funny little Easter egg games and such once in a while.
But none of those are things that.
The Doodle people make games.
Well, but here's my question. Do you think this is we don't want a Google thing competing with our valuable partners in the Play Store? Do you think that was it? Like when PepsiCo spun off Taco Bell, KFC, and the other one, Pizza Hut, because other restaurants wouldn't. It used to be PepsiCo just straight up owned them, and they said this is great because we'll cut out the middleman, and so we'll just put Pepsi in these restaurants. Well, what happened was other restaurants like McDonald's said, no way we're going to consider putting Pepsi in our restaurant, because in doing so we're helping our restaurant competition, which is owned by Pepsi. And so they spun it off into, I think, Yum Brands or whatever it is, specifically because it was hurting Pepsi to own them, because nobody at the restaurants would use Pepsi. Do you think it's like that? I mean, this is kind of a wild conspiracy theory, but maybe not. Do you think that they don't want to be competing with their valuable partners in the Play Store by offering games, and maybe Niantic they think is going to grow and be big, and they want to spin it off at some point so that nobody gets pissed off at Google?
That's a good question. Right now, there isn't anybody obviously competing directly. I mean, yeah, there are other game makers, but none I can think of that have that, sort of blending the real world and the virtual world in the way that they do. I've heard rumors that they're planning to launch a whole platform that developers can use the same tools as them. So it's possible that's the reason for the spinoff, is they may be planning to launch that, and they just want to stand on their, they want the company to stand on their own at that point. I don't know. I'm sure we'll learn more as it gets closer to the time.
Mm-hmm.
So Larry loves Google Plus. How big is Google Plus in West Jordan, Utah, Sheila? All your neighbors use it all the time? Do you have like hurls and stuff? Is it the new Facebook?
Huh?
Are you the only person in the entire state that uses Google Plus still?
Yeah, I think so.
There's one guy I know in real life, and he's like 45 minutes from me, who uses it.
I've had people say that Facebook, they get more interaction on Facebook than they do Google Plus. And I will have to agree.
Interesting. Alan knows you.
I get more interaction over there than I do here.
Okay. All right, so another change, or this is something that's coming out. We saw that this is currently only on the new Samsung phones, correct, Alan?
I think so. That was pretty unclear. Keep talking.
Okay, so what this is, it's called YouTube Live Broadcast, and it's a shot at these new streaming services, Periscope and Meerkat, which I'm using right now. And we have 11 people watching. We appreciate it. Thank you. On Meerkat, I've used both. I play with both of them. But these are really simple things where you can pick up your phone, run the app, you hit Meerkat or Periscope, you can just hit stream, and immediately you're streaming live, and it posts to your Twitter stream. And then you'll get viewers. And also you can, if you want, before you hit stream, you can type what I'm doing. Like I just said, this is our weekly googly talk show or something. And so I see Brad's reshared it, another guy reshared it. And so they're watching and they can comment and stuff. Google's getting in the game with two of the new Samsung things. I don't know if they announced, I think more, I don't know, but I know on the Note 5 and the Galaxy, I guess the S6, there is a YouTube live streaming app, obviously aimed at Periscope and Meerkat, that's going to be built right into the camera app on the phone. So when you go, instead, you can choose, like, I want to make a video or I want to make a still. In the actual built-in camera app, there will be an option for YouTube live streaming. I assume that will come to all Android in the future and probably iOS, because I think it's a genius idea. But it won't be in the camera app on iOS. It'll be a separate app, because obviously Apple's not going to go for that. But I don't know why Hangouts video has not taken off. I guess because it's more full-featured. It's not as simple. And it's kind of convoluted. YouTube Live is pretty convoluted.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It baffles my mind that YouTube has had this live thing for frickin' ever, but for some reason they just absolutely refused to make what was essentially a one-push solution to start broadcasting.
I know. They've been the longest running
proud about
people.
This idea of quality content, that they're forgetting that, quality can improve over time, but only if you get the users to come on board.
I think they're getting serious, though, Eli. They're getting serious, battling Twitch for the gamers, and I've heard that clearly it used to suck. It used to be like it would be buffering and reloading and stuff versus Twitch. Now they got some game, and I've heard that people who are watching one write-up that it was better because now there's 60 frames a second versus Twitch is still 30. But I saw one write-up. I don't know if it was in The Verge or one of these sites, and they said that it was better now, at least in certain aspects. And then I'm seeing YouTube go after the Periscope go after the Periscope Meerkat market with a simple stream. It just pisses me off. Like Eli said, it's like
go after that market yet.
Everyone thinks that live streaming from your phone was just invented with Meerkat and Periscope.
Well, it was, because YouTube didn't even have a broadcast client for the phone, did it?
I don't know if you can do YouTube Live now.
There was an app, or maybe there still is, for iOS, I think, called YouTube Camera, but I'm not even sure if that lets you do anything like one button push to go live kind of thing.
I mean, and here's the thing, they've been ramping up this whole big gaming thing. So their live streaming focus has been on the gaming end, and I've been saying this now for months. I don't know why they haven't done it. I don't know why they haven't rushed it to market. And I don't know why they're still so laser focused on gamers, because they've lost everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so yes, maybe with all of these changes that they're making for gamers, the rest of us are going to benefit from it, but it's not clear how. This is the first indication that we've had that maybe they're even sort of paying attention. Maybe.
I don't get they're only concentrating on gamers. All the stuff they're doing can be used by any YouTube live streamer. But
Dan,
not too many people use it.
Yeah, but Dan, it's still not simple. And one of the things that you have complained about endlessly is discovery of video. The discovery solution, they're only rolling out for the gamers. We still don't have that discovery solution on the rest of us.
Well, the way this works, yeah, it sucks. It sucked for years, and we've been bitching about it for years. But I like this. First of all, putting it built into the camera app is genius. Talk about discovery of the app. And then the fact that it'll stream and be saved to your regular YouTube channel. I assume you can make it public or private or unlisted.
Yes.
All that stuff. Yeah. So that is genius. Just like when they finally did decide to get serious about Twitch. And some of these things are incredible. I mean, I think it was like you'll go there and there's like hundreds of thousands of people watching live some of these things at any given time. It's insane. Way more than YouTube. And finally they're going to go after it. And they do have the tools to do it. But Hangouts is crappy quality compared to YouTube Live, but I would say Hangouts is comparable to Periscope or Meerkat, which are all dependent on the bottleneck that is your Wi-Fi system, what the quality of your wireless internet is, and they're all portrait, which pisses me off. God, we're still portrait, 2015. Anything else on this? All right.
Well, just how it relates to the next one.
Blab. What is Blab? Blab. I like saying Blab. Can I say Blab again? Just one more
Yeah, I'm
time.
not sure
Blab.
why we're not blabbing this while we're at it, because
Is it an app? What's it? Is it an Android or an iOS app, or what is it?
It's apparently it's roughly equivalent to Hangouts for 4 people. It's kind of like a cross between Hangouts and Meerkat, which is where it seems to be getting most of its users from. Mike Downs has been all over it the past week, and he's even dragged Moritz into it. It sounds interesting. I mean, it's based on some fairly modern yet simple and straightforward technologies. It's attracting some following.
Why is it good? I don't get it. Why do we care that it's...
The biggest thing that it has over it is what I'm hearing from the people who have used it, and I have not tried it out myself yet, is that it captures a lot of the flavor of those early days in Google Hangouts, where you would just drop in and kind of drop in for a couple of minutes and end up leaving 2 hours later. It's very casual, it's very straightforward, it's very simple. One of its biggest things that it has that Hangouts never had was it has a simultaneous chat channel that others can see. So it's also got it's actually closer to Hangouts on Air in some ways because it's also broadcastable.
So this is okay. So it's broadcastable. I see their little demo video is a YouTube video. What does that tell me? I see live now. There's Moritz. Obviously,
That's basically it. It's simple. It's straightforward. Matthew Rappaport's sending in some other chats for us. It points out it has an iOS client. It's on the web. Most users are from Periscope. Twitter. It's connected through Twitter, so it's broadcasting when when you go live on Twitter. It's simple, straightforward. 4 people video chat. Unlimited can text chat in the chat room.
so it's a show. It's not a private thing, or it can be either, like Hangouts.
It's more like, again, it's more public.
Mm-hmm.
I see that Moritz is in one. Moritz, our friend from Google. He's
Moritz,
in one.
I believe, is trying to run a 24-hour one.
Oh yeah, it says 24-hour Blab, CTO Tech Talk. It has 15 watchers currently. There's another one here, Just Kidding. That's what it's called, Just Kidding. And it's got 7 watching. 18 are watching All Are Welcome. And it's Perpetual Positivity. And there's like 2 attractive females in the thumbs, so there's 18 watching that one. It looks like that's the peak, 18. But then I don't know if this is all of the ones running. Jay's running a test. He has 1 viewer. So, okay, so this looks like any number of the things we've seen that came out when Hangouts on Air, in the year after that came out. All of which I don't know, I can't remember any of their names and don't use any of them. So cool, I'll have to check this out. So I guess you can join desktop or Android or iOS.
I don't know if Blab will survive or not, but I do know there's way too many live video streaming apps coming out right now. It's a glutted market already, and it's going to be a massacre when it shakes down to the handful of survivors at best.
But we know that if YouTube's product is baked into the camera app on every Samsung phone, that is immediately going to be one of the ones to beat, probably the one to beat. Periscope and Meerkat's still hanging on, even though Twitter screwed them. It was a lot of that was unfortunate timing. They didn't know that Twitter was about to buy Periscope. It was a secret deal. Meerkat launched, and then like a week later, Periscope launched, or whatever, a month later. But I still see people say they don't like Periscope, and some people don't like Meerkat. And I don't think any real people are using either one of them. Only like journalists and techies. I don't think my mom and dad are going to use Meerkat or Periscope or know that they exist.
And that's another point. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Eli. Nice as your parents are, Dan, I don't think we can really use them to define what real people are. Journalists and tech people are also real people.
Okay.
Well, I think what he means is mainstream, mainstream.
Okay.
But I think a broader point there is like, of what you're saying is none of these yet have had that game-changing moment. There's yet to be that moment with like a meteor crashing to Earth on a live Periscope broadcast. I honestly think whoever can have one of those world-changing moments where like a citizen journalist actually breaks some incredibly important news on one of these live streaming services, that may be the one that wins the brand name recognition game, but it hasn't happened, and honestly, nobody really seems to be using it in a way that that's likely to happen anytime soon.
Okay. It looks like a general broadcasting thing. I see food
Hmm.
shows, someone singing. It's very much
Well,
like the early Hangouts on Air.
what's interesting to me is that Hangouts and Hangouts on Air are still just too complicated. And what was good about Hangouts at the beginning, I think, was they were easy to find, and people could just join them, and it built a pretty good following for a while. But then they kept changing it, and every time they changed the way it worked, it got harder and harder to find Hangouts that you were interested in. And now it's almost impossible. The only Hangout I ever join is one where a guy created a website with the link to the Hangouts, and I always go to his website to get to the Hangout, and if I go there, I know I'm going to get into a Hangout that's working. Otherwise, there's no guarantee at all. Finding them is practically impossible now. So I basically don't know anybody that uses them anymore.
Well, I mean, and even though Hangouts was always sort of ostensibly part of Google Plus and then spun off as its own thing, I think, particularly with Hangouts on Air, you really have to think of that as more a part of YouTube. And the interesting thing about YouTube is, here's a service that began a decade ago with like, videos on news shows of people falling off their skateboards and cracking their testicles on metal bars, right? But what do you got on YouTube now? Shows that Google has pumped hundreds of millions of dollars into. They've never wanted YouTube, by and large, to be that sort of stupid, mindless thing. But the risk is if they push too hard that it's all got to be like cinematic quality and all the tools have got to be power tools and such, then they risk losing the kind of base that periscopes and meerkats and etc. are pulling in. So I think with Hangouts on Air in particular, they really got like, oh, we got to get all these professional tools because there's news channels using this and such. And unfortunately, they just didn't leave an option for just the average everyday person that made it really easy to use and discover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Obama Hangouts, and these are the ones uploaded by the actual White House. This one has 173,000 views, which is not. Here's one from Google. It has 200,000 with Michelle Obama.
Hangouts definitely had their moment, but I think the problem has been, as we're beating to death here, was that they were complicated, and they never provided that drop dead simple way to just do citizen journalism. They never had, they've caught on really well in business communities. Whenever I talk about, I need to do a video conference with people, they are the ones saying to me, can we do a Hangout? They're not saying to me, can we Skype in? Nobody seems to be using multi-person Skype for business. Everyone is using multi-person Hangouts for business.
Okay, I got some comments here, but I'll say I agree with you there. If for anyone who knows about Hangouts, absolutely, I would not want to do a Skype. I don't. The only time I do Skype is when I have to if I'm on Brad's show.
Well, but that's my point, is that even outside of people who know Hangouts, just everybody, it's a common business tool these days. Hangout video is a common business tool.
That's funny because I'm a big proponent, and I haven't found that to be the case. I've found a tremendous resistance to using them. I haven't found any customers willing to do it.
I know Microsoft ops who will do Hangouts with me because they can't stand Skype.
Wow.
Leo still uses Skype, doesn't he?
Leo does, yeah.
So I'm seeing something, and I see on now I'm seeing, this is weird. I think television isn't like the way it used to be. I think it's all streamed now, even though it's on your regular channel. Like sometimes I'll see CNN, and certainly you see that where the audio and the video is out of sync. You'd never see that on a broadcast before. But now I'm seeing that, like it'll be the live show. I've never seen it on actual live television. Makes me think that they're doing it through a computer.
They've had issues like that going back to the 70s, sure.
Okay. All right, so looking here at some of the comments here, Matthew says, we've asked for a standalone Hangouts on Air app years back, but nada. Lori, Friedrich, forgive me if I've mispronounced that, love Blab. Yes, they have an iOS app, blab.im/iOS to download. It's not in the App Store yet. She says the CEO and CTO are both there and jumping into Blabs. So that's the word. It's a blab. And if it's two or more, they're blabs. They are hands-on, listening to real user feedback and making good tweaks and updates. One of the companies that we tried that was a similar product years ago, the CEO got on the phone with us to get us going. We talked about it on the show, and I think they shut down. Lori said you can record, pause recording, and do a takeout of the video and edit for reuse. Dustin, Stout, and Brian did a break blab broadcast on Wednesday trying to see elasticity of servers for a number of viewers, comments, etc. Sai says Moritz is in the process of founding Blab Week. Oh. Blab beats HOAs for this reason. I've just laid a bunch of comments down that are pertinent to your conversation, but you don't see them in line to allow for engagement with your viewers.
And it's and it should be pointed out that that Gerwin and I did work on this app that let us do that sort of thing, and the back ends for it kept breaking. There's a reason why we don't use that app anymore, and it's because it's a pain in the ass to use, and it doesn't work with YouTube.
Wait a minute, Alan, I got confused there. Which app are you talking about?
This is the Hangout comment tracker.
And they want Googler. Right. It's made by a Googler, and they won't even fix it for him.
Yeah, no, that was not made, but that was made by Gerwin.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Who everyone at Google knows.
We used to use it extensively on this show.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. I wondered why it went away.
It went away because it stopped working with YouTube, which is where most of our comments were, and it's a pain in the ass to actually hook it up to a real message on Google+.
I see Michael Ellis is off camera, obviously smoking some great weed.
No, I just had to step away. If you want to know the truth, I was changing my pants, and I thought it was best not to do that on camera.
Too much information.
There you go. Now you know it all. Oops, and now I forgot.
We got a message in a different channel from Matthew where he says, Hangout apps have always sucked. And I disagree with you. And the reason why I disagree with you on this one, Matthew, is because they're the only ones that are even trying this.
And because Alan makes Hangout apps.
I've written a few Hangout apps, okay? Yeah. But we've never, ever seen anything of the same sort for Skype. We've never seen it for Blab. We don't see it for Periscope. We don't see it for Meerkat. We don't see it for anybody else. The only ones even trying this was Hangouts.
And the only time I've used them in the past, recent past, Alan, was when Google made me. When we had a big shot VP or whatever, and they made me.
I'm not talking about their apps. Their apps did suck.
Yeah.
but it highlights, there are a lot of problems with them. Discovery, once again, being the major problem. But the fact that they existed, the fact that, I can, the fact that they're there, the fact that it's possible, the fact that for some reason it seems to have been broken again. So I can't actually go and demonstrate one right now. There we go. Nope, I can't demonstrate it right now. The fact that it's doable is one step beyond where everyone else is. The fact that they've barely supported it, the fact that now the only way that you can actually use one is if you do have a Google Plus account. these are downsides to the tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I disagree with Matthew. Matthew, I wish you would almost join, just so I can tell you why you're wrong on the air.
Would you join Matthew, please?
Alan hates
That would be helpful.
telling people they're wrong. Okay, so Blab.
Alan hates telling people they're wrong. Yeah,
I do
not.
hate telling people they're wrong. I do. I take no joy in this.
It's just necessary.
Yeah.
But you can't let a wrong go unrighted, however.
Says the guy with no pants.
Well, no, I have pants. I have 2 pairs of pants,
Apparently.
but only one at a time.
Midnight approaches. Time to switch them. Okay, so while we're waiting for Matthew to not join, young girls used Google Hangouts to get help after a burglar breaks into a California home. I assume they didn't have any minutes left. What's the story here, Alan? You added this during the show last week, but we never talked about it.
I did.
Yeah, you added it for Friday.
I don't know. I thought you added it, to be honest. I didn't read it.
No, you stuck it in. It's in your collections.
I need to go find the link even to see what it is, because I totally don't remember this.
2 girls were being attacked, and they used to hang out.
Are you sure you didn't add it?
I don't think so. I thought it was in your thing. Okay, we can. I can't open it because it's autoplay audio.
Yeah, no.
It'll cause me to get in trouble
Now he tells me.
with Alphabet. I'll get in trouble with Alphabet.
So basically, it's the simple. There's they used a Hangout app to text their dad's girlfriend to let them know that they were in trouble. It's in some ways it's a simple, straightforward. Used as a text app in an emergency, but it was with Google Hangouts, which is why it got any sort of attention on Google Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that'll be the mainstream reference to Hangouts for 2015. Everyone tried it. I remember on Face the Nation they tried it. 2 weeks. Are they still using it for HuffPo Live? I think they are. Okay, so good job, girls. Okay, I saw this article, Don't Hate the Phone Call, Hate the Phone, and they were talking about a bunch of things. One of the things used to be in the olden days when Michael Ellis and I were, young and spry, you had a phone that was shaped to be a talking device, right? The big black phone, with the earpiece and the thing.
And you could actually hear on them, you mean?
Yeah. I cannot stand using my phone to actually make phone calls unless I have, like, earbuds or something. I don't have a Bluetooth thing. They all suck. But the earplugs or whatever. I like those. Those do well. And I cannot stand using the phone to actually make a phone call. It's painful. You can't hear. It sucks. And it's supposed to be a phone. It's called a phone. And so, I don't know. Is that a thing? I mean, do you agree?
Oh, good. Matthew's finally joined us.
Matthew looks stoned, too. Alan's on mushrooms.
Oh, look. Filters. Haha. Something useful, not.
Some good stuff going around, and I'm missing out. But do you agree, Michael? You phones suck for actual phone calls without any accessories?
Phones are absolutely horrible. They all suck. The sound quality is so poor that, practically speaking, they're almost useless as phone devices, really. The old trimline phones were so good for sound quality in comparison. And I'm just astounded that people consider these reasonable devices to use. What's funny about it is they're shitty devices as computing devices. They're too small for man-sized fingers to type on. So, for little kids, I'm sure they're great. But if you got man-sized hands, if you've got man hands like on Jerry Seinfeld, then you're going to have trouble typing on the phone. And when you put the phone up to your face to listen, the sound quality is so poor that anybody over 25 That's a good one. That's a good effect, Alan. Anybody over 25 is going to have trouble using the thing. I don't see why these things are so crazy popular. They are bad at almost everything they do, except you can carry them around everywhere easily and still not do anything with them that's useful other than text messaging. I
remember the old phones. Well, the old, I guess originally it was like at Aunt B, and on Downton Abbey when they brought a phone in, and they're all like, "Ooh, are we gonna die from this?" And there was like a microphone sticking out of the box. Then you had an earpiece you'd hold like this, right? Then the black phone from AT&T, the Mom Bell phone, right, big heavy thing, and it had some low end. You could a nice full spectrum of audio you could hear. Then they went to like I guess the Nokia, right, the big ones. And I had a Cellular One phone that was great. That's before. That was when the power. It couldn't be a little thing like this. It had to be either mounted in your car or it had to be in a bag, and then you had the earpiece because it was a 3-watt phone. Now they're 0.6 watts, but they can be right next to your ear. So they suck. The old cell network was dramatically better than any of the shit we have now. It sucks. Phones suck. You'd think a $900 phone would make a phone call.
Yeah, but they basically don't.
So there.
Well, did you even read the article about why they don't, though?
I swear to God, I didn't read the whole
get a
article.
chance to, no.
I swear to God, you probably didn't read anything more than the headline, did you, Dan?
I'm not a headline reader. I read more
So
than
you
the
didn't
headline.
read the headline. So, I mean, it talks about a number of reasons why phones suck so bad. And part of it is because of the decisions that were made back in the early Bell telephone days. Kind of forced us down a particular corridor where we're now stuck. So one of the things that was done then was that they selected, they knew what the usual range for voices were. So they picked that determined how much bandwidth goes out over each telephone line. And they set up filters so that everything outside that range got filtered out. Well, it turns out human voices, or human ears, when we listen, we pick up higher frequency. We pick up a slightly larger range of frequencies and use that to process what we're hearing. So phones narrow that, and then nowadays, not only do they narrow that, they then encode it. So it encodes into some real crap. But it's because of that narrowing that has caused so many problems. This is why, for example, you listen to music over a phone, it sounds so much worse than listening to it even on a bad record player or a bad tape deck. Second, as far as handsets are concerned, even looking at lousy handsets like this is incredibly poorly designed compared to original Bell handsets. Original Bell handsets had circuitry in them so that when you talked, you heard a portion of your own voice immediately. Because of the way both the encoding works nowadays and the devices themselves work, when you talk into this, you don't hear your own voice. This is why people tend to shout into phones, because they don't realize how loud they sound. And all of this is because of some bad decisions, again, made in terms of, making the signaling on this duplex or not. So these are all, a whole batch of problems that have kind of been codified over the years, but they go back decades.
Speaking of that, his phone's going off.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I just wanted to vent. I thought it was a good article. At least the headline was good.
So Matt's back with us. So Matt, tell us why Hangout app.
All right. Well, let me. Hey, good to have you. Good to be here. Let me revise my statement because I could talk in generalities, and I do talk in generalities. And I know, Alan, you work hard on the apps that you've made. You and Moritz and a lot of other app developers, and there are a lot of app developers that made Hangout apps that were awesome, third-party extensions as well.
But there weren't a lot of us. There were only a couple of us, and there were only a couple of apps that were anywhere worthwhile.
All right, a few. Okay, I didn't, but there was a few extensions too that were good. And my Hangouts and Hangout Canopy being among two extensions I use daily for at least a year, if not more than that. I guess the thing that I find frustrating. All right, we'll get into that. But as far as apps go, I mean, my point is that there shouldn't have to be apps. There should be buttons and features. And Google is all like, yes, that's a great idea. Why don't you guys develop that? And then you spend time developing it, and they're like, we don't care that it broke. Oh, it broke. Oh, well, too bad. So that's what bothers me. And also the other thing too is like, how many people were using those apps, you know, and how many people knew how to use them or knew they existed, or you know how many times I would do a hangout with someone, I'd be like, oh, to find the toolbox, to find the lower thirds, sit there and explain it to them. I shouldn't have to explain it to them. It should be obvious, shouldn't? Am I wrong?
I will partly agree with you on the second one, and this is what I meant by discovery. Discovery sucked, and discovery sucked from the beginning. If you weren't a featured app, and as far as I know, there was only one app that ever moved into the featured category, and that was Hangout Toolbox. They were, you couldn't be found, and they weren't.
Well, and it got worse than that too, Alan, because discovery was poor. Then, in addition to that, they would sometimes cancel apps that you didn't know had been canceled, and so now you can't find them, and you don't know that it's because they're actually no longer exist. You think that if you just keep searching, you'll find it because it's there, and search just sucks.
Right.
It was horrible.
Right.
It still is. I mean, it's just awful.
I mean,
they did a shitty job of it.
As for things breaking, I mean, I don't think any of the Hangout apps themselves ever broke. Things like Hangout Canopy broke, but that's because they said, hey, we're using unauthorized APIs. And Google never said, yeah, go ahead and use those unauthorized APIs. Google warned them from the beginning. Don't
Really?
do that. Oh, yeah.
Well, and I mean, unauthorized APIs are just what they are.
APIs.
That's why they call them unauthorized APIs.
No, I don't mean it like that. I'm saying, I get that, but I'm just saying the idea that you don't think that a lot of people in the community were using one or the other, or both, that were in the active community?
They may have, to be honest, I don't know because I didn't use them.
You never tried either one because of the unauthorized API?
I tried them once, I found them horrible, so I stopped using it.
All right.
Stopped using it. I used it once.
I mean, but I guess my frustration, there's a lot of frustrations, and you beat it all to death now that Dan has his chips, thank God. But the thing that really is frustrating to me is just the idea of when someone goes live, the thing that bothers me is Hangouts had this. Like, Hangouts had so much ahead of all of any of these apps. I mean, sure, there was live streaming, Ustream, but Hangouts was ahead of the game. Google was ahead of the game. Everyone at HuffPost Live, I said to them, I went in there and I was like, look, you guys, HuffPost Live is great, and you guys use Hangouts, but let's use Hangouts for after the interview or before the interview. Let's use Hangouts in different ways. And they were like, they were sort of like, okay, but we didn't do it. But they were mostly not interested in anything that was not on HuffPost Live. And now they have people periscoping every single day. HuffPost is periscoping. I guess that's my point, is that Google had the ball, and they didn't make that ball attractive enough for everybody to use it.
Absolutely agree.
And it's but it was ridiculous because Google has more money than any of these companies. So what did they do wrong?
See, here's a place where we can't even say that they advertised it wrong, because that's got to have been the best advertising that Google has ever done with their Hangout advertisements.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in fact, this was almost exactly 4 years ago, for the Dalai Lama birthday event. That was broadcast on, that they did a Hangout for because Nelson Mandela couldn't go there. So they ran a Hangout, and it was a real Hangout.
At 4:30 in the morning, yeah, Eastern.
Right, and Google turned that into a New York Times advertisement, a full-page New York Times advertisement that was incredible. We had the Muppets Hangout advertisement, which has got to have been one of Google's best video advertisements ever.
They had the Conan Hangout, which was good too.
There were tons and tons of Hangouts that were big and popular, and somehow it dropped. And
they did an on-air Hangout with the Hunger Games for the last one that came out, which was not that long ago. So I wonder, like, what is it? I don't understand, like, where the technology went wrong. Alan, how come they can make a Hangouts app? I'm able to join this Hangout on air through the mobile app, but how come they couldn't make just an on-air list of shows? Were they afraid? They didn't care? They didn't see the value in it? Like,
No,
why?
it's because along with everything else, they still don't get discovery.
Right.
They never got discovery. And at one point, they were betting on Google Plus to be that discovery agent, and Google Plus was totally not up to the ball.
And that's the one thing they should get, because they're the search leaders supposedly. So it doesn't make any sense.
But search isn't discovery. There's a big difference between search and discovery. Search is search.
Search is
Discovery
organizing information so
the
you can
right way
use
at the
it.
right time.
Isn't search organizing information so you can use it?
Search is organizing information so you can find it. That's different than discovery.
Okay.
I'm not sure I get the distinction you're making, Alan.
The distinction I mean, go look at why Meerkat and why Periscope are so big. And the answer is it's just brain dead simple
Easy,
for
yeah.
the stuff to be delivered to you. You don't go looking for it, it lands in your lap.
Even notifications are terrible. Like I still don't understand. I know they were toying with that. They never toyed with it. They said they would, I think, but maybe we never got any kind of like, oh, you know, a notification for when someone goes live in your circles. We never got that. Why didn't we ever get that? Like Facebook has that with celebrities. Gary Vaynerchuk just went live. I click on it, I see it. Were they afraid of flooding your inbox? I mean,
I don't get it. And I'll be honest, I don't know what it's like on the YouTube side, but I can only imagine that the fact that they're now talking about introducing some of these features for the gamers means that it wasn't there before.
Right. And I personally don't think the Samsung thing is going to be anything. I know Dan was talking about it, but I don't think people that are going to use it, not publicly, they might use it privately.
Well, here's the thing that I don't get about this. It's not clear from what we've seen so far if this is a Samsung thing or if
Google.
this is a YouTube thing that just happens to have rolled out first on Samsung.
And so it's bad. I don't know why they want to confuse people from the get-go. That's what I don't get.
Because this is Google and it's all they know how to do is confuse people.
And yet they still have the highest tech stock, right? So I don't get it. So do you think I know we've talked about, not to change topics, but we've talked about my belief that Google will buy Twitter and now Alphabet exists. Do you think that now that they're Alphabet that them buying Twitter makes any more sense, or it still doesn't make any sense to you?
It's not clear to me why anyone wants Twitter, but
Because they own Periscope and Vine, or at least Periscope.
it's not clear to me why they'd want Periscope.
No? Okay. Don't they want to compete with live streaming video?
Sure, but that's called YouTube.
Really? They've yet to figure out how to do it. Don't they?
So?
So they bought YouTube because they couldn't make Google videos work. So don't you think they should buy something that works that people are using instead of trying to start from? I'm not saying people aren't using YouTube, but I don't know. You know what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. And here's the thing. I mean, it's not clear to me why, like I said, it's not clear to me why anyone would want Twitter. It's really what it boils down to.
I mean, the celebrities use it daily. The journalists use it daily. Project Lightning might be big.
Yeah, but I mean, even, Wall Street doesn't like Twitter. That's all that matters to Alphabet right now.
Nobody's figured out how to make any money from it. They don't need another exercise in vanity. They want stuff that makes money. Google has lots of money losing projects. Why buy one?
You don't think that they can just plug Twitter into their ad network and make money that way? Into AdWords or whatever?
I don't know. Perhaps.
I don't know. I just think that Bradley Horowitz is the head of Google Streams, Photos and Hangouts or whatever. We have one stream, and I don't really know. And most people I talk to are not even using collections. So not to jump around topics, but I guess I just trying to figure it all out.
I've never used it.
The worst.
I hate them.
Right.
I hate them because to see Alan's, I have to type Alan. First, I have to load Google Plus, which takes 30 seconds. Then I type ALLEN, and then Alan pops up. I click on Alan. Then I have to wait 40 seconds for his thing to load. Then I have to find one of his collection things, and I have to click on it, and then I have to wait 40 seconds for it to load.
Now you know why Hangout apps bother me. Like the same thing. When you're trying to do a video, loading your video, and you have to open all these different apps to do things. You know how many times opening a Hangout app would crash the actual Hangout? That never happened to you?
Hangouts, the Hangouts app crashes all the time.
It does without help. So
I mean, it does that no matter what you're doing. If you're pushing a button to search for a contact, it'll crash. It'll crash if you dial a phone number. It'll crash if you answer the phone. It'll crash if you dial the phone. It's a piece of shit. Now, I will say...
Have you had any better luck with the new app, Michael?
Okay, thank you. I was just going to add that remark because I've got it in my hand right now. I just got the new app this morning, and I already can say, I can't say it doesn't crash because it did crash on me once, but it is dramatically better in that you can actually find most of the functions now. But I had, again today, the experience that I went to a place where you were supposed to be able to search for the name of a person, and that person is absolutely in my contacts list, and this blasted application could not find him.
Sounds
I
like
ended up
banging.
having to go back to Contacts, the Contacts app in the phone, not the Google Contacts, the Contacts app in the Samsung phone, to find that person's phone number so I could give it to another person. It's preposterous that they haven't figured this out after all this time.
do you think that's possibly why Chi left? He was frustrated, not because of this new opportunity. Because give me a break, he has a million opportunities.
Yeah, he always has opportunities.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really think about that being a reason, Matthew, but that makes perfect sense to me that
Could
it
have been
could be that.
frustrated.
I mean,
He prob-
if he's as frustrated on the inside as I am on the outside, I wouldn't stay working in a job like that. I'm horribly frustrated with this stuff. I have always been, since the beginning, a big proponent of this stuff because I believe integration was the key killer app for all these social network things and all the tools we want from Google that we like from Google. But they made this Hangouts app, and it destroyed the integration. It was all talk about integration, but they never got there. You can't make contacts work correctly on your phone if you're using Hangouts app. It's horrible. No.
And
So
the thing
maybe
that's
that is-
frustrating the most about it is that this isn't like a new thing. They've had Hangouts for so many years. This is like, compared to the other avenues.
Well, yeah, right. True.
No.
And I think part of the issue is that, exactly what a Hangout is has been changing over the past 4 years. So initially it referred to just video, and okay, that was fine. And then it referred to chat and video, and okay, we can accept that. And then it, folded Google Voice into it, and okay, that still sort of makes sense. But now
But it didn't. Every time they rolled something in they eliminated the old thing, but they didn't give you all the capabilities that the old thing gave you that people depended on.
No. They did a far better job than they did on every other app where they've done that. Photos being the prime example.
But if you start with really bad, then only a little bad is not a dramatic improvement.
Well, but I think Hangouts has at least been trying to get back up to speed on, and trying to do so fairly quickly, on all of their missing features. So they finally brought back multi-group MMS or whatever that was.
Well, they say, but I can't figure out how that works. I got a grouped MMS message this morning after I got the new app, and you get no indication on my end. I'm the receiver. I got a message that was clearly sent to multiple people. I get no indication that it went to multiple people, and when I reply to it, I have no way of knowing, did it go to all the people that originally got this message, or did it just go to the person who sent it to me? I can't tell. I still don't know. I'll have to call the person, but of course I can't do that until I can get to a place on my computer where I can look up his phone number,
because
I can't find his number using his name. If I knew his email address, then I could find it. But
hey, real quick, let me do a couple things on our Meerkat followers. One guy asks, LV at LV asks, am I using Windows 98? No, it just the program I'm using to stream that you're looking at is called Open Broadcasting Software. Ironically, and Alan will love this, this is mainly designed for people streaming games on YouTube Live and Twitch and other things. And I'm just, a lot of people use it just for regular video shows like I am. And then Drew32 says, I heard about Meerkat on a morning radio program the night after Game of Thrones. did its first episode this year. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We've had 275 check in and 13 here now, so that's cool. And then
275 checked in on Meerkat for this. That means that's way more than on air.
yeah,
Not even close.
YouTube
What,
live
maybe
is
10 people watch, 12 people, 20?
I don't know how many.
That's more.
YouTube doesn't tell me. I see there's
No, why would YouTube tell you?
15 or there's 15 at peak at the same time. I don't know what the peak was. There's 15 on Meerkat right now. There's 15 on YouTube Live, so they're tied. I have no idea.
Periscope, you could be brand new on Periscope. You'll get 2 or 3 people right away without doing anything but hit start. And like,
Meerkat,
Google-
I'm seeing better results from Meerkat than I am with Periscope, but I'm trying both of them. Let me look at some comments here. Let's see. Sounds like a Monty Python sketch. Dan, yes, I'd like to have an argument. Alan, I'm sorry. This is, whoa, what the hell happened? Oh, wait, a Google Plus glitch. Okay, Dan, I'd like to have an argument. Yes, I'd like to have one. Alan, I'm sorry. This is the room where I tell you how wrong you are. Dan, but it says on the door, argument sketch through here. Alan, no, you're wrong. It clearly says you're wrong through here. Dan, wait, are we having an argument? Alan, no, you were wrong. Dan, did you see the headline about the ostrich?
It sounds like the actual show to me. I think Cy's got it exactly right.
That's a show. It's a show about nothing.
Oh, we can't. Moritz is now watching, and so we can't keep talking about Moritz.
Wait, but Moritz is blabbing. He's watching and blabbing at the same time. Isn't that bad for his health?
But this just means that we're also on Blab now.
All right.
Isn't he 24 hours a day on Blab? Won't Larry and
Is he,
Sergey
like,
get
legally-
mad?
Does Google allow him to be on Blab like that many hours straight while he's working at Google? Or his
80
research?
minutes off time B, sure.
Lori says people
all
love
right.
what you and Gerwin coded, Alan, so much that they are trying to bring those features to a new product. We can't leave Moritz out of that. He did the Moritz did the alphabet of Alan and Gerwin's Google, if that makes sense. He did the umbrella app. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just wish it would all work better. That's all.
No
we all
shit. Yeah, we all do. So, is the question?
Sorry, I missed the beginning. Sorry, I missed the beginning. The whole Larry Page show loves Google Plus. What was the? Did you guys spend a lot of time on that or not really?
No, I don't know why it was even in the news. He said one post. We still love it. What's he
Larry
going to
Page
say?
hadn't posted in a while, right? And he actually responded to somebody to say he actually called it G Plus. He didn't even say Google Plus.
I think that the fact that Larry got around to his annual Google Plus post in Q3 is evidence that he does love Google Plus. Instead of waiting till Q4 when they made him do it.
I don't know. And he posted something else about who is someone they hired or something, or that they some consultant.
That's what they need is another freaking consultant.
Right?
They need someone who understands how to use a social network and how to build one.
Good idea.
I mean, the whole like let's bring in Dave Besbury instead of Bradley, and then let's bring in Bradley anyway, and then we're sitting here with collections and nothing else. You know, I don't get it. What do they talk? What do they do all day in Google at Google HQ when it comes to Google Plus? I've always been baffled by that.
They do nearly nothing with it.
I don't know. Alan's been to HQ. Have you been to the area where the Google Plus team sits, or?
Yes. I have pictures of me from that area even.
Right. Oh, okay. How many? What? I don't know. Obviously, they couldn't. You probably can't tell us anything, but
No.
whatever you. No. Do you even have an inkling of what's to come without telling us anything?
If I did, I couldn't tell you.
All right. If you did know, would you be happy or sad or neutral, or you can't say?
The only thing I can say is go look at my post about the future of Google Plus. I mean, it's actually funny that that Cy made a comment about ostriches, because that's exactly how I referred to the current perspective on Google Plus in a recent blog post. And yes, I'm back to doing blog posts.
Because it's a better platform than any of the other social tools we have available.
Well, there's Medium. I like Medium. No, not so much.
No, it's fine. I haven't used Medium.
Every time I talk to you, Matthew, I find out about another system that I'm completely unaware of.
What system is that?
Well,
That would be-
Medium, I don't know what that is. I never heard of it before.
You've never heard of Medium? All right.
No.
You know, Matthew, most people haven't.
I know, that's true. You're right.
It's
My bad.
you know we
But
make
most
fun
people
of
haven't
Google
heard of
Plus not
Hangouts
being
either.
well known.
Most people that don't live on a coast or in the, I don't know.
Not
I
even
do
on
live
the
on a
coast,
coast.
in the Bay Area, because Michael
Right.
does live on the coast.
Right.
That's true. I don't know.
Well, not at the moment. Now I don't. Now I live on a wine
A
farm.
lot of companies are actually using Medium as, instead of having their own blog, they're using Medium to write, like Periscope uses it. And I think Snapchat does, right? A couple of companies.
I don't know. As usual, it boggles me why anybody would want anything that's outside their domain.
For the social, well, if there's already an audience. You have to get your own audience when you have your own domain.
You can still have your own audience with your own domain. That was one of the great things about Blogger is you would still get the Blogger audience, but you still had it under your own domain.
But I think that's the biggest problem in general with all this stuff is that where are the people and where is the audience and how easy is it to connect them to what you're doing? And I think with all the social platforms, I just don't think there's enough of that with Google. There was never been enough of that. Or I feel like there might have been in beta, but there was less of us. I felt like in beta you like knew everything that was going on and everyone knew, and I don't know.
That's because there were only a few thousand of us. You could know everybody.
Right.
You know, that doesn't scale. And that's why everyone, this back in beta, everyone was saying things like, oh, I don't want us to leave beta because all of these horrible people are going to show up.
Or not show up.
Come on. People are going to show up. You want more people to use the platform.
I agree with that. I'm just saying that I've done some feedbacks and the communication. To me, it's always been like Google Plus is not great at getting your communications across to each other. If you want to, there's been times where people have sent private messages or limited messages and I missed it. It was buried somewhere. Things like that. I don't know.
Well, that's because the Google Plus team really had no idea what a social network was supposed to be.
Right. And now it's
anyway, Dan, come back so we can finish this up already.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail your show.
No, it's not derailing at all. I mean, in theory, that's the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I would add that everyone did try Google Plus. All those people in 2011 in June, they created a profile. They didn't post a picture. They looked around. They didn't see anything. They didn't see anybody they knew, and they left. They all tried it, and they left.
And that was Google's fault.
Well, yeah, once again, and I've said this, only a billion times on the show, Google never gave a compelling reason to use the platform.
Just like Ello didn't, so.
Yeah, and Ello's going nowhere fast.
Exactly.
There's still a thing. I think I had an invite early, and I don't even think I ever did it.
Wait, one last question. Are you for or against? Do you think a private invite beta or a private invite thing, do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that actually winds up hurting, or that has nothing to do with anything?
I think it's a good thing, but it depends who those people are. If they're all Google engineers and they're friends, then maybe you get a male tech-oriented user base, and it has problems growing from that point.
No, I don't think. I think the problem, though, in this case was that I think I think the way they did the invites was fine, or at least acceptable. The problem is the people who ended up getting invited were almost immediately the ones that Google alienated.
Alan, they're having a little interesting back and forth here between Alan and Moritz. He says, I'm curious to hear how lower thirds would be implemented with Blab. That means like the text in the bottom, like you'd see Alan Furstenberg, New York, with a logo. What Moritz did initially was a great separate app that you could put into your camera app, and I guess that works. Also, as far as having comment tracker and display easier, if you have a way to access the chat stream, Twitter for comment tracker still works, I think. Moritz says that Team Blab eventually has an API for that, hopefully soon. For now, it is back to Webcam Max, Minicam, and other things that allow you to It sort of takes your webcam stream, adds a lower third to it, and then creates a virtual stream that goes to the fools the program into thinking that's the actual webcam, but you've added whatever you want on top. Basically, a PNG file with an alpha channel for video gurus. Okay.
So does that mean Moritz likes Blab?
Yeah, he's on it.
I think it's pretty obvious that Moritz likes Blab.
Yeah.
In fact, he's up there at the top. If you go there, blab.im, he's at the very top. You'll see his sexy mug right at the top. In fact, he's always on Blab, literally. Okay, next is when animals attack. I saw this because I live near bears and stuff. So this was interesting. There was a mother with 2 cubs, a mother bear in, I guess, Yellowstone, I think. A grizzly bear, a brown bear. And typically brown bears are much more aggressive than black bears, and polar bears are much, much more aggressive than brown bears. Brown, also known as grizzlies. So, and there are brown black bears. There are not black brown bears. You can tell by the neck if it's a brown or whether it's a grizzly or a black bear that happens to be brown. So anyway, this bear killed a guy. There was a husband and wife hiking, and they saw the bear with the cubs on the trail, and they kept going. And then at some time later, maybe like half an hour later or something, the mother bear caught up with them and attacked both of them, killed the husband by, in one of the attacks, she hit whatever artery causes massive blooding and causes death. So they felt that the rule was, and this is interesting, the rule that the rangers and the scientists said was that if the bear is acting naturally, like if you disturb a bear and her cubs and she feels like she's defending the cubs and acts aggressively and attacks you, they won't kill the bear because the bear's acting like bears do, and you're in bear territory. Then there was this other guy who was a frequent hiker. They knew him, I think, like 6 or 8 times in the recent past he'd been there. And he got killed and eaten, and then buried like food, and then they found the body, they observed to see who would come back, and this mother came back, and they did some DNA testing, and they determined that it was the mother who had killed this guy. So now she's killed 2 people, and they were still debating whether she should be euthanized. And they decided that because she ate the guy and treated him like food, obviously, it wasn't natural behavior, and they euthanized the mother, and they took the cubs. I think one's going to a zoo and one's going to, I don't know. But I just thought that was really interesting, how they decide.
Yeah.
Sometimes like a guy jumps in a lion cage and they kill the lion, or the lion eats the guy. Some people would just naturally assume, oh, you're going to kill the lion. No, the lion's doing what lions do. But I don't know. I just thought this was interesting how the science works to this. And also, this guy, I'm surprised. I think because of the publicity is why they did it, partially. Because the guy was hiking alone. He was not on a frequented traveled. He'd gone off the main path, and he didn't have bear repellent. So he did some things that aren't wise. Any thoughts on this, Michael? And then it's not really a tech topic. I just thought it was kind of interesting because it was science.
No, I read the story when you posted on it, and I thought it was very interesting. I'm always at least peripherally interested in bear stories because I went bear hunting with my family with my father when I was a boy, and I went most recently, just a few years ago, went grizzly hunting with my brother. And for the environmentalists in the audience, I had the chance to shoot a bear when I was 12, and I had him in my sights, and I couldn't pull the trigger. So I never carried a gun again after that, never went hunting again. I went with my brother to go grizzly hunting, but I didn't carry a gun. I just went to see the scenery and hopefully see a bear. But in any event, I think the story was very interesting because they really do seem to agonize over the choice of balancing the needs of the humans that are invading the habitats of the bear population. And when they cross paths, sometimes the bears attack the people, and it's just it was interesting to me how they chose when the bear got to live and when the bear had to die.
And then Dan walked away.
But that's all right.
I guess you're not following over yourselves to learn
Talk
more
about a
this.
3-year-old story.
Is it 3 years
No.
old? Oh
No,
my
it isn't. It
God.
was July.
No,
It was this
that's not
past July. He
No,
just
that's
got
not an
aced.
old story. That's recent.
The link that Dan posted is from 2012.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute. Maybe I got the
Dan's
wrong
living in
thing
beta.
here.
That's not very good of you, Dan.
No, I just saw this in the news. I posted another thing that they euthanized it today.
There was more than one story, so you may have posted the wrong link, Dan, to just now. But there was a recent story about the bear, and there were stories about similar stories about bear attacks from the last few years, and so that was relevant, and it was all tied together into the same story.
Okay.
Speaking of that, should they kill the dentist? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, the dentist that killed the lion?
Yeah, I don't understand that. You know, I can't. I mean, okay, I'm sure I would have enjoyed seeing the lion, but it's not like I don't think they're threatened, right? I mean, I'm just going to talk frankly here. I don't understand how people with hamburger patties in their freezer, sausage patties in their freezer, get all bent out of shape over a lion. I mean, it's not like they're endangered. Every circus has like a dozen lions. I know they're cute. I mean, is it okay to kill ugly things? We shoot deer. They're the same color as the lion. I know the lion's graceful, and the Lion King movie was great.
Wasn't it because people were mad because it was endangered?
It's not.
It's not.
It's not
on a
endangered.
reservation.
In fact, Zimbabwe just reopened up trophy hunting, and if it had been a different lion, same species but not on the thing, it would have been perfectly fine. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, it's a graceful lion. It was a famous lion. Okay, they killed it, but it's like all of a sudden you're going deer hunting and oops, I killed Bambi. Oh shit. That's what happened here. I don't know. I'm pro hunting. I mean, I'm not against it. I don't do it. You know, I like hot dogs, but I don't want to see how they're made. And I know you have to do something with the deer. You'd have to somehow, there's too many, you know, you got to cull them. So I don't know, I guess, what are you going to do? You're going to spay and neuter deer or poison
I think
them?
that's what people were mad. People were mad that like he killed the lion as a trophy and not he wasn't like using. It's not like he used it for anything. Maybe that's what they're mad about.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, you brought up the animals.
Yeah. Okay, so next is I don't think anyone's eating the lion, but maybe bushmeat if you're hungry enough.
I'm guessing they eat lion in Africa, but I don't know.
When they get the chance.
Comcast will launch a short-form video platform in the coming weeks. I guess this is going to be. They've invested in Recode, BuzzFeed, Vox, all these places.
Oh, this is watchable, right? I share this.
Yeah, watchables. What do you think about this, Matthew, and then Alan, and everybody else? What do you guys think about this? What is the future? Are they? I see bidding wars, and also we just learned that Sesame Street is going to go to HBO, and then after 6 months, those episodes will appear on PBS, and PBS is saying this is good because we'll be able to produce more episodes than we could. But I don't.
Well, they were in danger of losing Sesame Street. HBO saved Sesame Street, I think.
Yeah,
Really?
that's the way it read to me too.
Basically, I mean, there was, PBS just couldn't find. Currently, I think they were saying 2/3 of all of the Sesame Street watchers were watching it streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't watching it on PBS TV.
Right.
And PBS just couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to pay for that. HBO can.
But they're going to get an exclusive for some period of time, and they're going to lock Netflix and Amazon Prime out, correct?
Well, they're locking Netflix and Amazon out completely.
Right,
HBO, yeah.
because it plays just the first number of weeks, and I don't recall how many weeks.
It's 9 months, and then PBS will be able to stream it.
Right.
But it's a license deal. So currently, you were able to get it on Amazon and Netflix. They're now cut off.
So will
For the
it
next 5 years.
actually be broadcast on PBS?
Yeah.
No, it'll be streamed on PBS.
I believe that it will actually be broadcast on PBS after
Also?
9 months.
Oh, I thought it was only streaming. Well, the article I read only mentioned streaming, which I
Because,
found interesting.
well, the reason is because nobody's watching it on broadcast. They're watching it on streaming.
So they don't think they won't get an audience on broadcast, so there's no reason to take up the airtime broadcasting it, right?
Well, it's probably worthwhile for them to take up the airtime since they're no longer going to be paying for it. It wasn't worth it before.
Oh, I see. Right.
Now since they're not going to be paying for it, it's worth it to them again.
Right, because they'll still get advertising dollars of some sort or sponsorship dollars.
I was going to say this
somehow.
is PBS.
Yeah, but they don't do advertising. But those things that are advertisements to the rest of the world that they call sponsorships, yeah, those they'll still have during Sesame Street.
There is after the guy died. Who just died? Didn't someone just die?
The lion died. We established that already.
No,
People
one of the
died.
Sesame Street guys died. Who died? No, he didn't die. He wrote a book. Big Bird. Did he write a book? What was he in the news
almost
for?
the same thing.
Oh, Carol Spinney.
Yeah, he wrote a book. He's very much alive. Big Bird is not dead. Right? He wrote a book?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
get to your point, Dan. Come on.
Well, the point was that there's a great documentary you should watch. It's like the behind the scenes or the story of, it's on Netflix or Amazon, maybe on YouTube, I forget. But it's about an hour or more story about how they started. It's fascinating. And Carol Spinney's in there and all the people who did it. But they actually, every single show is run before an audience of kids. And when they first did it, the kids panned it. They said it was boring, except they really liked the part with the two puppets, Ernie and Bert. So then they went back to what's his name, Muppet creator Jim Henson.
Jim Henson.
And they said, can you make some more Muppets? Because the kids can't stand the adults stuff as much as, I mean, it was a boring show overall. So then they got all these Muppet characters, and then the kids loved it. And then they redid it. They actually like threw out the whole thing and started over. And then it was an instant hit, and they said that they were no way were they prepared for the avalanche of people calling them, asking them, and other countries, people saying we want to make one in Egypt, and in all these different languages and stuff. So it's really a neat program you'd enjoy, and you get to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and how they did it, and just the interviews with the people who were there at the very first show. It's a wonderful thing. Of course, the show's great, but it's a really interesting documentary if you're at all into Sesame Street. But anyway, back to actual. Huh?
Where do you see that?
I don't know. I watched it when Carol Spinney.
She said it's on YouTube, Netflix, or Amazon.
One of the three. It's the making of, or the true story. It's over an hour long, and the whole thing was intact. But if anyone can find it, go ahead and post it. But it's really good.
And the Muppets are going to be on ABC this fall. So there you go.
I think, though, skipping back a little to this HBO deal, I think one of the things that it points out is that HBO is no longer a cable company. And honestly, they don't care about that fact. They're now a streaming company that's competing directly with Netflix.
I have HBO now. It's great. It sucks. The UI sucks. They got to get up their game on that. Discovery's terrible. I wish they would get stuff up quicker. Sometimes it's not till the next day, which sucks because I'm paying like, what is it, $15 a month or something? It's the most expensive of all of them. But I can afford it, so I buy it. But I have all three, and they're great. I heard it described that Netflix or Amazon Prime Instant Video is where Netflix was 5 years ago. I think that's a fair comparison as far as their selection. And then HBO has a great back catalog. I'm surprised that they licensed their back catalog to Amazon Prime so soon before launching their own thing. I'm surprised they didn't keep that.
I'm not surprised at all.
Why wouldn't you have thought that to sweeten the pot, to make it so The Sopranos were only available on their platform as another reason, all those, The Wire and all those shows you can get on.
Because people aren't subscribing to HBO because they want to watch Sopranos. They're subscribing to HBO because they want to watch the recent shows. They want to watch Game of Thrones. They want to watch Girls, whatever else is on. They want to watch. That's what they really want to watch.
Don't you think it would have made sense to keep the back catalog exclusive for like 6 months or a year to get more people to use them? You don't think it matters?
No, because people already saw those shows. It's not worth it to them.
It's not.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. But as far as watchable goes, I think that they have an uphill battle to launch this service. They have a lot of great partners, but those partners are on Facebook and YouTube as well. They have to compete with Facebook and YouTube. I don't see how Comcast is going to do that.
Yeah, this Comcast thing boggles my mind because basically they're saying, yeah, we're going to get, a few video sources and people are going to love us. Comcast.
How are they
They're
going to know you
they're gonna
exist?
kill Facebook.
Yeah, right.
It's the Facebook killer. Um. All right, so we'll see. But I mean, this makes I don't understand. Why do they spend all that money on BuzzFeed? Why would Comcast NBC spend all the money on BuzzFeed and Vox and Recode? I think it was Recode, right?
Well, Vox owns Recode.
Okay, and then NBC Comcast invested a bunch of money in Vox.
Well, part of it is the way. So I think it was the demographics, right? NBC Universal is reaching an older demographic. BuzzFeed is reaching a younger demographic. They wanted to try to cross over. Also, BuzzFeed has done very well with their motion pictures. I don't know if there's a great LA Times article that came out last couple of days. You should check out about BuzzFeed motion pictures. That they're investing a lot of money, and their video. I think BuzzFeed have the 2014. They have the time watched. Everyone wants to look at time watched now, or time spent on the site. And I forgot what it was time watched for the videos, but it was like 56 years of time on BuzzFeed. And I think Periscope's numbers. I don't know if you talked about that. They just announced their numbers: 10 million users, 40 years of time watched in 5 months. So we never got any kind of hangout numbers like that. But anyway.
No, you don't share bad news. All right, so we'll see what happens. I still think what boggles the mind is I have Comcast Business Television, and I can't see MSNBC. I get CNN and Fox. What the hell? They own MSNBC. They own CNBC. Why can I get? Why are they hurting themselves in the ratings by putting them on an $80 tier instead of like my $30 or $40 tier or whatever? That's crazy. That's insane. I mean, it's their own property they're hurting.
Because they think they can.
I'm not paying $80 for Morning Joe.
Have you considered the fact that Comcast is pretty diluted? They actually think people like them.
Yeah,
some people don't have a choice.
But you would think, I mean, Comcast business customers would be very likely to want to watch CNBC.
But Comcast business customers would also be very likely to fork over extra money to see CNBC.
Well, maybe you have a point there. Okay.
But
All right.
I don't think it's going to work out. But I mean, it's interesting that they're doing it, and I think it'd be cool if it worked out. But I don't see how it can work out.
Alan's theory holds water because also Fox Business Channel is on that higher tier. So I guess all the business stuff they're putting on the most expensive tier because they figure the Comcast business customers are the most likely to pay for it. So that would make sense. But nobody watches Fox Business, and there's only a couple shows on MSNBC I'd like. I want to see what Brian Williams is going to do in the future, and I like Morning Joe. But a lot of the stuff's on
You think
the
Brian
internet.
Williams is going to have a big career? I don't know.
I don't know. He's got
I hope not, because I think it's what he did was pretty egregious. I don't think he should be that kind of a journalist anymore. But
one wonders how many other people have done that.
well, yeah, but I can't worry about those. I'll worry about those cases when they're exposed, right?
I'm glad
You
Lester
can't
Holt's
punish
doing
this
well.
guy just because you have some suspicion that other people have done it and you haven't caught them,
No, I know.
right?
He wasn't. There's
It's
a
funny-
difference between making something up, like some of the scandals, the New York Times writer who made stuff up, and the Washington Post writer who famously made up a story about a child who was a heroin addict or whatever it was. Those are falsifying. All this was like just personal bravado, and on comedy shows.
Yep.
It doesn't excuse it, but
I don't think it's
the fish
I
wasn't
don't
really
think
as
quite
big as he said it
innocent as
was.
that sounds.
I don't know. I like.
It's funny you brought up Lester Holt again. Not trying to change the topic, but Lester Holt is using Facebook Live, and I don't know how longer he'll be using it. But I thought it was interesting that he was one of the first people to be using it in New York City, walking around. So
Next, Columbia House is dead. The Spotify of the '80s. I remember Columbia House. I think my sister did it. They had gotten out of this business. They were doing something else lately anyway. But for 1 cent, you get 10 albums or whatever, and you agree to buy.
so just again, yeah.
But I think what they did was they were the real albums, but they actually made their own. And sometimes they'd come with the corners clipped, so they couldn't be sold as like regular albums. But I think they licensed and then they printed their own. I think that's how it worked. But I don't know. It was part of the 80s, right? That was a big
Yeah.
part of the 80s. Maybe the
I
70s.
did
I
it.
don't know. You did it, really?
I'd done it once or twice. I definitely lost money. I don't know. But what was it? $10, $8?
It was a
It's a
penny.
penny, but then you still have to buy like full
It was like
price albums.
$9 shipping and handling or something, right? And then
No. I think it was like you gotta get like so many albums for the penny, and then you have to buy like after that they make you buy like 1 or 2 albums or something like that.
Right.
it was a good
That's
deal,
true.
but they would automatically ship you something unless you mailed a card in saying you didn't want that selection of the month and blah blah blah.
Right.
And probably the record company would say, okay, you can have this Kiss album if you agree to feature this up and coming artist we're trying to get traction for as one of the month things. So there are probably deals. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. It brought back memories. And finally, Facebook
That was a
says,
pause.
go ahead. Did you see this story, Matthew?
Which one?
The LOL versus haha.
Oh yeah, I thought that days ago. I thought that was just ridiculous.
Why don't you intro it for us? You
Facebook,
can
I
probably
think,
do
did a
it.
survey, I believe, where they found that people are not using LOL anymore. Nobody's using LOL anymore. They're using haha, and so LOL
Yeah.
is basically dead, and they're just haha. I don't know. I feel like people use them interchangeably, but what do I know? What do you guys think? Do you guys? I mean, is there more to the story than that, Dan?
That's it.
I mean,
I don't know. I've tried to find the hidden deeper meaning, and I don't think
I guess people 20 and younger don't use
Whoa.
LOL. Is that it?
Hang on, Matthew. It wasn't a survey.
Okay, what was it? A study? What was it?
It was a study.
My bad.
Quote: We analyzed de-identified posts and comments posted on Facebook in the last week of May, with at least one string of characters matching laughter. We did the matching with regular expressions, which automatically identified laughter in the text, including variants of haha, hee hee, emoji, and LOL.
Great.
The most common laugh is haha, followed by various emoji and hee hee. Age, gender, and geographic location play a role in laughter type and length. Young people and women tend to prefer emoji, whereas men prefer longer hee hees. People in Chicago and New York prefer emoji, while Seattle and San Francisco prefer ha-has. From there, they broke it down even further.
Wow, somebody has way too much free time.
Facebook does a lot of
No,
money.
it doesn't really require all that much time to do some basic analytics, Dan.
But I'll tell you, it's interesting. Like elections, don't they do some stuff like positive versus negative references for each of the candidates? Don't they kind of look at that stuff?
Yes, this is actually something Google's been doing for years based on search results.
How
or based on
accurate?
search queries.
On its
Facebook
most basic
has
level,
different
there's the
sources of
7.
data, and they're using it.
7-Eleven has the 7 election, and they sell, like in the last election, they had Romney and Obama cups, blue and red cups. And when you bought your coffee, you could take one of them. And I think except for 1 year, they were, not only did they get it right every time, but they got it, the percentage is very close. Like 56, 44 or whatever. They would get really close. And I think that's fascinating. I guess people who buy 7-Eleven coffee, that could be a executive on the way to run a corporation or a construction worker or anybody in between, and
Well,
you
that's
kind of got your
crazy.
stake in the game,
And now that Joe Biden and Al Gore might be part of it, it's gonna be crazy.
No red cups in Matthew's windowsill.
Sorry, I fired them all.
Matthew's all about Trump now. It's all he can post about.
That's all I can post about.
So it would be interesting to see over time, now that Facebook's been around for a while, Google, of course, been around for a while, to see if the accuracy of these, because Facebook has both of them have a huge, a relationship with a huge number of people. And to see like how many times has someone posted about Trump or, Bobby Jindal or Hillary or Sanders and the others, how frequent is it, and how is it in a positive or neutral or negative context? Because I think they can kind of tell that. Like if you said "fuck Hillary," they would probably know that's a negative context, or like, "Hey, let's go Team Hillary" is positive, and they're pretty good at that. It'd be interesting to see over a pattern of elections, how accurate it may or may not be. Not that reflects people likely to vote, but those people are hard to find now. It used to be easy when everyone had a landline and everyone was in the phone book.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning and the end, when phones first, there was some polling done early on when phones first became a thing, and there was a famous poll, I forget what it was, my history teacher told me about it. It was wildly inaccurate because only rich people had a phone because it was new and expensive. And now, at the tail end of the landline, we're kind of experiencing the same thing, where the young people don't vote as often as the older people, but the young people are much less likely to have a landline. I doubt there's any like 20-something young couple just got their first place together, got an infant. I doubt any of those people have a landline. I bet it's less than 5% for a regular home phone. Any thoughts on lol versus haha?
It is interesting now that you explain more of it. I don't think less people are saying LOL, but what do I know? But I think.
Well, you're in theater circles, right?
Oh yes, I have so many theater circles. What, Dan?
Aren't you in theater circles? You're an actor.
This is Dan. Remember, he thinks that everybody in New York lives on Broadway.
We do.
His Twitter handle.
I have actor friends.
His Twitter handle's New York actor. He's an actor.
I have actor friends, but I have many other tech and journalists and regular people that do none of that. I mean, just like you don't have just only journalists and tech friends unless.
You mean mainstream people, as you called them?
Mainstream. Main Street. Joe the plumber is not my friend. What?
Joe the plumber. What an idiot.
But I think it's interesting, though. It would be nice if they use that data in a way that serves people in a positive way and not just themselves. That would be nice. We'll see if any of the networks do that. But I do think that the way, not to Facebook, Twitter, Google+, the way information is organized, I don't know. I've always found, I feel like the trending, not that the way they write the trending on Facebook is great, but just the accessibility of the trending on Facebook and Twitter always seemed better, easier to read, easier to find than, say, Google. And I just wish that would be better here. Anyway, as far as data, how data is organized, they're going to do the studies, and I don't know, use them in a positive way or a way that's helpful for their users, right? What do you think they're going to do with that data? Alan, what are they going to do with the data, the LOLs versus the ha-has? What is that going to do?
Probably nothing. They were doing it. The New Yorker article raised the question.
A what? Raise the question?
New Yorker article.
Oh, they actually said they asked Facebook, and Facebook crunched some numbers and got back to them. Is that how it happened?
Not exactly. It was more like the New Yorker article raised some possibilities, and someone at Facebook read it and said, "Yeah, that would be interesting." Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, but they must have had a. You think that's the only reason, and they just did it for fun, or for information?
Pretty much. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, it's from the way they described it. It wasn't as if they are permanently collecting this information and constantly crunching it. They said, it sounds like they did a limited data dump and did analysis based on that limited data dump.
It'd be interesting if they came up with a dictionary, the official Facebook dictionary, because of course dictionaries are not rules that people are supposed to follow, although that's how they're usually used. Dictionaries are actually supposed to be a capturing of that year's actual usage, how the words are actually used. How the people use the language is supposed to dictate what the dictionary says it means. Although people think the opposite's true. It'd be interesting to have if Facebook came up with some kind of weird ass, riddled with typos dictionary, the way people use Facebook. So, Michael Ellis, how was your Google Plus week, sir?
It was great. I've been jutting around all over the country, all over the United States, on my supposed vacation, and I'm leaving Nashville on Sunday to go back to Germany. So the next time I join you will be sometime when I'm in Insomniac, and when the show is on the air.
Awesome. And you're about to head to a bar in Nashville, right? Do some.
Actually, I'm going to a private reception in one of the presidential suites.
Well, I guess that beats karaoke at the Nashville Palace.
Yeah, it does for me.
Awesome.
If you were here, Dan, I would do karaoke with you at the Nashville Palace.
I sang at the Nashville Palace. I lost the contest. There was a gigantic, obese guy who sang "Statue of a Fool" like he owned it, and he was awesome. He
Wow.
was amazing.
Well, I'm auditioning for a solo part tomorrow in a new song that our choir is doing for the group, and the audience is about 1,600 people. So I have to preserve my voice tonight, which is why I'm on the show, because I didn't go out drinking.
Excellent. Well, good for you. I hope you have fun and don't crack
Thank you.
under pressure. Break a leg, as they say, in Matthew's theater world.
It's my world.
Matthew
Right, your
Rappaport,
world.
how was
I
your
own
Google
it.
Plus week, sir?
It was good. I'm really digging me live streaming. I've been periscoping almost daily, and I'm experimenting with it. I'm hoping to. I'm trying to get my hands on Facebook Live using the journalist credential, but we'll see if that happens.
Isn't it automatically if you've got the verify click on Facebook?
Only if you're a verified celebrity, not a is it? I don't know if it was a page. I forgot. I think if it's a verified, give it to a verified page. That's what it was, not a profile. So like Scoble has a verified profile, but not a page, so he can't have it.
Do they think that it's gonna? Are they testing it like they did live, and then they're gonna give it to everybody? Google did, or is
We're
this...
not sure yet. I hope so, but I'm not sure. I would think they would do that, but you never know. Maybe they'll decide not to do that. You know, Facebook has had this Q&A. There goes my Peter Brady. Has had the Q&A technology. That's basically what they built it from. They've had that for years. Zuckerberg's been doing Q&As on Facebook for what, 4 or 5 years, right? Maybe more.
Is it monetized?
Not that I know of. No. I mean, I guess there can be a way. Right now, though, they're monetized in the sense that they have celebrities. They have The Rock and Serena Williams, and I don't know, and basically.
But there's no
I see
pre-rolls.
news. What?
There's no pre-rolls or Jason ads or anything.
No, none of that. No, none of that yet. I don't think there will be. But they don't go away. They save like a Facebook post right away, and you can share it, you can like it, you can comment, and it's the way that I thought Hangouts was going to work. You know, remember we used to have the Hangout post, and people used to comment and like and share it just from that one post.
Yep.
Back in the day, and that worked for a little bit. So I don't really. But that's all it is. I think Hangouts got too complicated for their own good, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I've been streaming and a couple of interviews coming up. So we'll see if people want to hire me, but I'm working on it. I do think it's interesting though. A lot of people are now using streaming. They're trying to figure out how to use streaming, and you know, you guys have been streaming for years, and I know you've meerkatted this. Are we meerkatting and blabbing? What are you doing right now? Just
Meerkatting,
Hangouts?
but I'll try Blab. I've tried Periscope and I tried Meerkat. But Meerkat's
Are
great.
people-
We have 16 now, if they're real. 435 have stopped in, it says. But I don't know how many. I've heard there's bots.
Do you think there are bots? I don't know how many bots there are. You think so?
I don't know. That's what somebody said, but maybe there are. So, thank you, Meerkatters.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been a great week and happy weekend, and I can't believe it's summer's almost over. But how was your week, Alan Furstenberg? Can I jump over Dan to ask you that?
Absolutely.
It was pretty good. Been very heads down in a programming project, so been fairly focused on that for a customer. Otherwise, pretty good Google Plus week. I noticed my engagement in Google Plus in general is going down, and that's hardly surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Even for the ostrich post?
Yeah, I posted a post earlier this week basically saying that I think Google Plus can have a future, but we have to stop ignoring why it has problems. And a lot of people who I've seen responding really well to Bradley Horowitz's post are saying, look, clearly Google Plus is the future. We're on a good track. Things are going to be great. And my reply has been, well, tell me how, and maybe I'll believe it, because right now I don't believe it.
Maybe you should increase the number of Donald Trump posts you put up every few hours.
Well,
I swear to God, pro or con, right? Or neutral. Just mention the word.
Well,
Mention
Trump
his
has
name.
only helped Fox News has climbed. Fox News
CNN
basically
and
only-
Fox News,
Right.
every hour, almost the entire hour, is Trump. I've never seen anything like it. It's more than the Malaysian airline.
Oh
But
my
not more
God.
than OJ.
It's the ratings are. I mean, everyone's watching, and it doesn't matter
And
if
that's
you're
what- and that's what
positive or
Trump's happy
negative.
about.
It doesn't matter.
But
Alan
Trump
could say
did-
like, "I hate Trump." I really have no opinion on Trump. Go Trump.
That's right.
Where have you been all my life? He could say anything in between those things, and he would get like all these things.
It's
I kind
crazy.
of believe it's a PR stunt. Like, he wants to be president, but he wanted to prove what his value was, and this clearly proves that he has a ratings value. I don't know if he has any other.
Well, if you
value.
go to the Iowa State Fair tomorrow, you can
No,
by
I know.
helicopter, I
You
think,
can take
right?
you can take a ride in his helicopter if you're a little kid.
Right.
He's gonna let kids.
Huffington Post is going to be there.
Right.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean, right? Huffington Post, which I'm so pissed they just said he's going to be entertainment, which is stupid. It's not up to the media giants to determine who the people have a right to vote for. You know, that pisses me off. And for them to say that and he's mad at the Iowa newspaper. Nothing he does gets him in trouble. I've never seen Teflon like
Who?
this. Trump.
Trump?
Yeah.
What do you mean nothing he does gets him in trouble? He's constantly in trouble.
But then his
But not
his
real
polls
trouble.
go up. His polls go up.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's not in trouble
exactly.
with numbers. He's just in trouble with the press or with.
Yeah,
He
but
said-
who
he
cares?
trashed McCain. He trashed all the illegals from Mexico. And his numbers went
All
up.
the legals and the illegals.
His
He
numbers went
trashed
up.
everybody.
And
Look at who he's running. But look who he's running against. He's not running against. If his numbers would not be up against all the Democrats. if
he's
he was
running against
Democratic
Jeb
candidate.
Bush, who kind of looks like he doesn't want to be bothered. I mean, I don't know. It's like Jeb Bush reminds me of his dad when he was running for re-election. Kind of like
Yep.
going through the motions. Is that a fair analogy, Mike?
That is totally exactly what he looks like.
He's not fire in the belly.
There is no fire in that belly. That's the way it looks to me. I don't know who wants him to run, but he doesn't seem to be the guy wanting to run.
I know. It's like, well, you know, I don't want to disappoint my mom. And
Not to make this full blown political, but Trump has made the Republicans really kind of interesting, and I never thought the Democrats would be more interesting. It'd just be Hillary. Now you have Bernie Sanders. Now Al Gore is going to possibly run, and Joe Biden might run. So now, can you imagine Clinton, Biden, Gore, and Sanders all in the? That's who would be? Would Hillary still come out of that?
No.
I don't know. It depends. I think it all depends on an email server and the FBI.
Yes, I think you're right, Dan. That's correct.
Because people forget it was using her private email server was completely legal when she did it. However, if something came to her that was top secret, that's the issue. If she sent or received top that was at that point called top secret. Obviously, in retrospect, it was a dumb idea, but it wasn't criminal.
Not just top secret, classified.
Yeah, it could be any kind of classification. But Petraeus,
Right.
I think his stuff wasn't. Well, I've heard Petraeus' stuff wasn't particularly super classified, like top secret. But then when I look at what it was, it seems like it should have been. But he really.
Yeah.
If it turns out that she lied, if they can catch her in a lie, but the Clintons are really good at not being.
Lying and getting away with it.
Yeah.
They're all liars. Come on.
If there
No,
is
that is not fair. They are not all the same kind of liars.
Well, that's
If
true.
there is a
it's
blue
just
dress in that
overly
email
simplistic to say they're
server,
all
it's
liars.
over for her. If there's a blue dress in that email server, it's over.
But I know we were
Right.
Alan was talking about his Google Plus week, and we didn't even get to ask him.
Alan, how was your
Um,
Google Plus week?
No, he was telling us, but his Google Plus post engagement went down. I was just wondering, and do you all post to collections, or do you move the post over, or is it a variety, or you stop using collections?
I post straight to collections. In fact, it's something I mentioned early on in the collections. If it doesn't fit into one of my current collections, I tend not to post it these days.
Wow, that's.
You're really drinking the Kool-Aid. Do you think that?
No, it's more that I mean I do a little, but the number, I get roughly 20 people an hour joining my glass collection, and I haven't posted there in 3 months.
It's featured though,
Wow.
right?
Yeah, it's still a featured collection for some unknown reason.
How do you know
Yes.
how many join per hour?
Because I get a notification every time somebody joins.
Oh goodness.
Oh, my
God.
God.
Oh, do you?
my.
You don't get like a group notification? Like
Well,
circles?
if I don't pay attention to it for a while, it turns into a group notification. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I just think collections are. It's a nice idea. It just doesn't. Like Alan, you were from the beginning, I think, talking about how it needed a lot of changes, like early
Yeah.
on. So.
I mean, collections are fine. They're great, but there's nothing spectacular about them. They could have made something spectacular about them, but they haven't yet. And I think it's too late to do so, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. It just seems strange to me that, well, maybe it doesn't seem strange after all these years, but the fact that they spend so much time and effort on them, and literally just like another Google Plus page where you have Google Plus posts. That's basically what they are.
Yeah, I mean, there are interesting signs that maybe they'll do something interesting with them, but have a good night, Michael. But
Good night,
I'm
See you,
dubious
Michael.
at this point. I don't think they really. Here's the thing. Multiple times when pressed, when you would ask them, what is your vision for collections, they wouldn't answer. So I don't think they have a vision for collections.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they know what they've got. This is just a very, very big throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
I think they can make a standalone app with collections and really make something on the scale of like Instagram with it, but I don't think they want to do that. But I think it could work.
I honestly don't see how. And this is what I was getting at with my ostrich post. Maybe there are some great features coming to collections and communities and so forth.
But so what?
But so what?
Exactly.
It's not clear to me how they can do anything with these tools at this point that will make people want to use them.
I agree.
I was specifically responding to I'm totally blanking now on who I was responding to. That was talking about how one thing that they will do is integrate it with a deep neural network and use it as a recommendation engine, and they'll be able to tell you, hey, here are some other things that we know you're interested in, go look at these. And I'm thinking that's great, but it's totally not clear to me how that will actually get anybody to use it. I just, there are fundamental problems with that remain with Google Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not see them addressing those fundamental issues.
They just fixed that subscription bug that's been around for I don't know what years.
I don't even remember that. I mean, they just fixed a notification bug dealing with collections.
That one, yeah.
But that's something, it's fundamental problems like, you mentioned earlier about how Google Play games is fairly closely tied to a Google account. Hey, that's great. I think that's great integration. But you notice how none of those games have their lobbies, their support systems, their chat systems, their whatever on Google Plus?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't think I mentioned that, but that sounds. Someone else must have.
You mentioned it. I thought you mentioned it in the context of I forget. Anyway,
Might have been Michael, but yeah, I agree with you. I think like when Google was playing around with collections, and we were like, all right, I didn't understand like why anybody. It was clear to many people that it was not a game changer, but it didn't seem like it was clear to Google, and still isn't. And I don't really know why. Is it just for them to say because they're trying to savor it?
well, I think because it's a feature that Facebook doesn't have, and they still think of social networks
As Facebook.
well, not just as Facebook, but primarily as Facebook, but in comparison to other social networks. They don't get how social networks can and should be something different. and they've never understood that. So right now, they're saying, hey, we're going to focus Google Plus. We're going to make it like, picture a bulletin board system.
Mm-hmm. Like Pinterest, Pinterest, yeah.
Well, great. So you're going to, reproduce a system that's 20 years old, and you still haven't gotten a fraction of the features that those 20-year-old systems have.
Did you see that Mashable article about, like,
yes, we even covered Google?
Oh, did you talk about it already?
Yeah, it was a decent article, but even that, I think, misses a big part of the point.
Mm.
I really think that it's not just the network effect. That was a serious problem. I mean, that's why people came here and said, it looks like Facebook. Why would I leave Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
Google never gave a compelling reason to leave Facebook. Google never gave a compelling reason to use Google Plus. Never mind a compelling reason to leave Facebook.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And they still haven't. And maybe Bradley Horowitz and his team can do so. But I can't picture what that would be.
I can't either, and they've been very silent, and so I don't.
The silence is normal. I mean, that's perfectly normal from Google to not pre-announce products. But Bradley's, practically said, yeah, we're coming out with some really cool stuff. Just wait. Okay.
I guess, although maybe he's the wrong demographic to be leading social. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Well, on the other point, and then we got to move. But on the other point is Facebook. The big draw there is all your actual friends are on it already, right? So join us for the first time now. With Google Plus, it wasn't that. It was discovery of new things, but the discovery wasn't there. It was too kludgy to try to find people who shared your interests, or you know what I mean?
But Dan, the argument that's being made now is that Google is going to use neural networks and what it knows about your interests and help you find those other interests on Google Plus. And I think that's an interesting solution, and it's a nice feature, and I can picture a number of ways that will work really well. And I kind of wish Eli was here, because he was one of the people I was debating this with, and he had some very good points. But it's not clear to me how this is going to be a silver bullet. It's not clear to me how they introduce this neural network and suddenly people are going to use it. I don't see it.
Well, can you give an example of what that would be? Like, you get a notification about what? Like, what would be the example of that?
Do you use Google Now?
Yeah, it would be like Google Now.
It would be like Google Now. I mean, if you go to your Google Now cards, if you get a Google Now notification or go to your cards and it says, here's an article you may be interested in because people in your area have read this article.
That sounds a lot like what Dan wanted.
What?
Sounds a lot like what Dan kept. Every time we talk about Google Plus, Dan's like, I don't know why we can't find people local in your area. Remember? That's always Dan's good.
Well, admittedly, Google Now is a little bit confused. It keeps sending me articles from San Francisco.
Because you were there.
Because I've been there, and I spent more than a week there.
Right.
So it keeps telling me about San Francisco trivia. But I think the general idea of learning over time what your interests are, what websites you visit, what the kind of things you talk about in public messages and so forth, that makes sense. And using that in a neural network to surface things for you makes sense.
That's what the New York Times is doing.
Well, that's what Google Now is doing.
Read your history.
But even when they have something good, and Google Plus has always been weak where it should have been the strongest. But the one thing on like my Android devices, that stories in the Google app, where I've been raging about, they got rid of it apparently. It was one of the cards. It would show stories based on things you're interested in, and not just news stories, but articles, whatever. And then you click more, and it would show you all these really interesting things just for you. It was a cultivated stream just for you, based on your interests over the years on all your Google products. Now I don't see it now. It was like the best app, period, and they just got rid of it, and they never really promoted it. It's so frustrating. My week was good.
How was your week, Dan?
Well, funny you should ask. It was good. I'm making pizza this weekend and ice cream, butter pecan. little party with my neighbors. Is that a ferret? What is that? What kind of animal is that?
My dog. She's a Yorkie poodle.
I guess the dog would be upset if I thought it was a ferret. But
I don't think the dog would know.
okay, it's not super
It's kind
smart.
of like Google. They don't know what we are either. So.
Right. So anyway, I got some pizza boxes, and this was it's a neat thing. It's called the Green Box. I'm not particularly like an environmental dude, but what I like is it's cool. The top, the lid. This was on Shark Tank, but they're about the same price as a regular as all the other pizza boxes. It was like 70 cents, $35 for 50 of them. But I make pizzas and I give them to my neighbors because I got a pizza oven. So the top part, it's
Wait,
just,
you cook pizzas?
yeah, I'm really good.
Like, you make them from scratch?
I used to own 2 restaurants. Yeah, I make pizzas from scratch in my pizza oven. I make ice cream. I make all
Why
kinds
has
of
there
stuff.
not been a hangout on air of that?
I've done it multiple. I mean, not hang out on air, but I've got videos.
It-
Google Dan
Got it.
McDermott Pizza.
Oh, all right. Well,
So anyway,
that is
the top
good.
lid here, see, it's perforated right there. So the top part becomes 4 plates, and then the bottom folds when you're done, and this thing here folds into here, and it becomes a to-go container, the bottom shelf. If you just go, I think it's greenboxny.com is their website, but if you just look for YouTube, Greenbox is one word, and this little demo video, it's a really cool thing, and they're on Amazon, $35 for 50 of them for the 12-inch. You can get 10-inch, and you can get up to 18 inches. So that's a neat thing. So, and it's a good sturdy box. I'm going to test it for the first time tomorrow. The other thing I got is Craig Ship, a friend, suggested that I told him I needed a pen, and so I got a Fisher Space Pen. And I think it's the guy who's actually invented the space pen. You know the joke, the Americans spent millions of dollars inventing a pen for space, and the Russians just used a pencil. But this is the pen.
You know that's inaccurate, right?
I know it's like George Washington didn't really chop down the cherry tree, and Lincoln was not anti-slavery until it suited him. So here's the magic bullet, or the bullet, not the magic bullet, the Fisher Space Pen. It opens up, and then the back goes on there, and then I think it writes underwater and crazy temperatures, and it just works all the time. Lasts a long time, and it's not much money. I think it was like $15 or something. So I got that. It's pretty cool, and it fits in your pocket really easily. But so that's a neat little toy. I needed a pen to sign my checks. That's the only thing I do with my pen. I sign checks. Wednesday is very popular with my staff because they all get paid. It's my least favorite day because I have to pay them all.
Yeah, but they make you money, don't they?
Yeah.
All right.
I like that part. I'm rich on Tuesday and poor on Wednesday. Anyway, so
You're
next
like
week's
Blimpy, or
who?
what's his face? Oh, Bluto. What was his name?
I'll
Popeye
gladly
Blimpy?
pay you Tuesday for a hamburger.
Yeah,
That's Wimpy.
that dude.
I think that's where they got the name Wimpy Burger in England, or I don't know. Belgium was GB Quick, which I think served horse meat, but not officially. Anyway, good show. Thanks to the 86 people who have checked us out on Meerkat. To the dozen here now, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We're here every Friday night, around 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We go for a couple hours, and we talk about tech news, starting with stuff about Google Plus and Google properties, and then whatever, and
Alphabet.
and Trump, Donald Trump. That's for SEO.
Now you have to say Alphabet, Dan, don't you?
And Alphabet. Alphabet Week? No way. No way.
ABC Week.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Anyway. All right, so thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Until then, have an excellent, awesome, badass Google Plus week. Cheers.